Congratulations, you just completed your first project in Godot that you would like to then host on the web. Now, most people will take their game and host it directly on itch.io or export it directly to Steam. But if you're looking to figure out how to host this yourself and you use Python and FastAPI, this video is for you. The first step is to go into the project export in Godot. If you don't already have the web set up, then you'll need to add web and install the package somewhere towards the bottom. There are other videos on this on YouTube, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that you've made it this far. Once you've selected an export path, you can go ahead and export the project. After you export your project, you're going to get a folder that looks like this. You're going to have a bunch of files in it that Godot has created. And you may notice that you see your HTML file here, and if you put that file into the web browser, then you're going to realize that something is wrong. This game is not working out of the box. And that's because Godot expects you to host this game on a web server. If you wanted to then take this and host it in your own local FastAPI server, we're going to need to do a few things. Namely, we're going to have to take these files and structure them a little bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and move into VS Code now. So in VS Code, we have the Godot standard, which are all the files that Godot gives you after you export. Then I have Godot test, which is my folder structure for the project. FastAPI, just like Flask, is going to use Jinja, and it's going to expect you to have a templates folder for your index.html. In this template folder, I have my index.html, and I also have a new folder called game. In this game folder, I have placed the HTML file that Godot exported. Further, I've created a static folder and a JS folder within that to host everything else. Now, in my index.html file, I have done nothing but include the Godot test HTML file. In my Flask API app, I have a Flask API definition. I've set up my Jinja templates and my static files directory. I've gone ahead and added the core's middleware, which you can see is up here. I've also added a custom middleware, which I will get to in just a minute. And finally, on my root home page, I am simply returning the template rendering for index.html, which is calling the Godot HTML file. This, however, is not the only step. Well, we will then need to go into the Godot test.html. And in the standard, this is what your file will look like. There will be a script here with the source as whatever the JavaScript name corresponding to what your export name was. You are going to need to change this file on this line to look like this instead. This will use the static directory that is standard to Jinja for FastAPI. And you'll change your path to that static JS name directory for the file. That's everything you need to do in this file. However, you are going to need to make a few more changes in the main JavaScript file that is created. That JavaScript file looks like this, and yours will as well. There's a lot of code in here, but luckily we only have to change a few lines. Press Command or Control F, and we're going to search for the load path. There should only be 7 instances of this. As I flick through, you can see those. In this file, in these sections, you simply want to add static/js/ on each of these load paths before in the string. This will ensure that your Godot files are loading the appropriate files using the directory from Jinja and FastAPI so that your server can serve these files the way that it is expecting. Finally, we'll go back and look at this custom middleware. As it turns out, when you've made all these changes and you go back to your browser, you will still get this same error. And that is because you need to add this correct security configurations. FastAPI, however, does not currently support adding these CORS headers in the middleware out of the box. FastAPI is using the starlet definition for CORS throughout the box, and so I have found a maintainer on the GitHub that has written their own extension to allow you to add these custom headers that Godot is expecting. I will put this link in the description so that you can copy this code and paste it into your file as I have. And in my file, I have the CSP definition, the parse policy function, and the class that was written to go along with it. The only difference is that because I am running Python 3.9 and not Python 3.10, I've had to get rid of the type hint definitions as seen in this post. So if you are running Python 3.10, you can simply copy and paste. If you are not, then you must remove those the way that I have. Those removals will need to happen here, along with this colon, and here, along with this colon. Now that you've done that, there is only one last thing to do. Now you must add this line for cross-origin embedder policy set to require corp. With these definitions, you can call and add the middleware here. I have set the CSP to false. Now that you have done all of this, you should be ready to go into your terminal and run the UV code run the unicorn app reload code to start your server. Once you have started your server, you can then go into your local host and play your game. Now I already have my game loaded, but I'll go ahead and refresh so that you can see that this is in fact working. What you want to see is this loading screen here. Now, this does take quite a while to load, so there may be some impracticalities to self-hosting this. I'll leave those levels of debugging to you to then optimize your game and see if you can figure out ways to make this load faster, if this is still something you want to do. But this does at least prove that we can, in fact, load this game locally using FastAPI. I'll go ahead and I'll wait for this to load, and I'll be back when it does. Well, that took several minutes, I'm not going to lie, but the game is now up and running, and you can probably hear that my computer is exploding and running out of memory. But this has been a tutorial on how to host a game from Godot on a Python FastAPI server. This is just for educational purposes, as I do not particularly recommend to do this. But if you find a way to do this efficiently, feel free to share in the comments, and I'd be happy to check out any videos that are posted in response to this, showing people who have optimized this process. Thank you very much for watching.